Tell me, why is an accomplished foreign architect shoveling coal here in Philadelphia?
Today we're talking about The Brutalist, a 2024 original period drama, some might say epic, from director Brady Corbet. Starring Adrien Brody, Guy Pearce, Felicity Jones, Joe Alwyn, and Isaach de Bankole. The Brutalist tells the story of Laszlo Toth, a Hungarian Jewish architect who is separated from his wife and his life's work due to the Holocaust. Toth escapes to America to explore new opportunities, rebuild his life, and pursue the American dream, but quickly discovers that America may be just as brutal a place as the one that he escaped from. The Brutalist is a fantastic movie, but in order to fully dissect it and discuss it, we're going to have to spoil a couple of things. So now's your warning to pause this video, go watch The Brutalist, and then come back and let me tell you how to feel about it. The experience of The Brutalist is overwhelming. Towering is the word that kept popping up in my mind. Many shots of the movie involve looking up towards the sky or light, towards man-made monuments created under an artistic but functionally capitalist facade. All is laid out quite bare from the movie's opening moments, and the fantastic and claustrophobic overture leads up to one of the movie's iconic images, a flipped on its head Statue of Liberty, the idea of the film being that a dream is just that, only a dream, not a reality. The movie touches on immigration, xenophobia, the artistic process, capitalism, being an employer versus being employed, insecurity, class, power, and the dissection of film itself. The relationship between Laszlo and Van Buren could easily be conflated as the relationship of a filmmaker to the studio producing their film. How much creative control do you actually have if your employer owns you at the end of the day? That Corbet lays everything out so quickly allows the audience to enjoy the craft on display, because I found the story to be relatively straightforward and less important to the movie overall. Like Toth and his architecture, his craft is everything to him. When Van Buren finds him shoveling coal, having realized the brilliance of Toth retroactively and seeing dollar signs, then handing Toth photos of his work from Europe, Toth begins to cry. His work has stood the test of time. Corbet makes the same assessment, whether in a big dick swing about his own movie or how movies work in general. Will you be remembered? And if so, how will you be remembered? This also touches on the meaning and purpose of art, how it is commodified and manipulated from conception to completion. Part of The Brutalist's appeal is its spectacle, which starts with the choice of shooting the movie in Vista Vision. For those unfamiliar, Vista Vision is a higher resolution, widescreen version of the 35mm motion picture format. It was created in 1954, and because The Brutalist takes place during this time, director Brady Corbet chose this format to best suit that time period. While it may feel highfalutin and self-serious on paper, it adds a beautiful texture to the film, feeling classic, real, and modern all at once. The cinematography of The Brutalist is staggering, with shot after shot so masterfully composed and framed. As we watch Laszlo move amongst the construction materials and equipment, we see a man who is one with the tools and machines he utilizes to birth his art. Cinematographer Lal Crowley will certainly be recognized during the award season, but as someone who cares less about that kind of stuff, I want to give him his accolades here. His work is monumental, much like the imagery that he, Corbet, and co. capture on screen. That cinematography is matched by a triumphant, chaotic score by Daniel Blumberg. The horns and synthesizers all coalesce into making The Brutalist feel as big as its visuals and subject matter, and the movie is greatly aided by this music. The sound design in general is excellent, as the noise and hum of men working and machinery are integral to the storytelling and character development on display. The Brutalist is all about building something, and while not all of Toth's creations are shown on screen, sometimes only in dioramas or pictures, the scene involving a library that he designed and constructed with the help of his cousin Attila is one of its best moments, capturing what it feels like to be in a room that you just want to live in. As someone who considers himself a reader, libraries are already an intoxicating and mesmerizing place to walk amongst. But that the set design team and Corbet craft such a vision makes everything feel totemic and important. Perhaps one of the more on-the-nose images of the movie, but also one of its best, is Toth blanketed behind a wall of sparks as he designs a new idea of a chair, table, and shelf. Creative spark, destructive fire, and wonderful, unbounded creativity. It's all the more upsetting that Toth's beautiful vision is going to be so quickly consumed, Americanized, and spit out. Much like a great novel, the brutalist structure and approach to anti-structure is literary. That the movie is cut up into two parts with an overture and a coda appeals so strongly to my sensibilities, not as just a writer but also a consumer. Watching it unfold on screen with a relatively packed audience felt special, and the intermission made it feel even more like an event. This was so meaningful to me as a movie fan, and that Brady and his team crafted something with such self-awareness and chutzpah is admirable. Now, if the story isn't incredibly important, what makes The Brutalist special past its filmmaking? The acting. Adrien Brody does some of the finest acting that I have ever seen. He is a large part of why this 3.5-hour movie flies by. He is mesmerizing, tangling us up in a warped spell. When he gets off the boat, celebratory and excited, and finally meets up with his cousin Attila, played by the always tremendous Alessandro Nivola, we weep with him. When he's finally reunited with his wife Erzsébet, played by Felicity Jones in what appears to be a relatively polarizing performance across the internet, but I kind of liked her, we are swept up in his emotions as he realizes that his wife has succumbed to osteoporosis due to the famine and hunger she experienced during the Holocaust. Adrien Brody is this movie, and bar none the best thing about it. But some of his best scenes also involve Guy Pearce as Harrison Van Buren, a wealthy businessman who appears to have made a sizable fortune from war manufacturing. Pearce plays Van Buren with a terrifying might and unsettling insecurity, a man who can quickly go from patronizing philanthropist to ripping the veil off with narcissistic vengeance and malice. Pearce and Brody's scenes together are hypnotic, as they both play so strongly within that power dynamic. We believe their realities and live within them, as we see what happens when powerful white men play with the minds of hopeful, innovative immigrants. I get the impression this movie may end up being polarizing in certain sects, specifically the film scholars versus the people who just love the movies. I personally was won over by it, but that's because it's indebted to the films that came before it. When Laszlo mentions that his buildings were designed to withstand a certain type of erosion, this not only speaks to the testament of his grand designs, but also to the ideas of making art and presenting films to the world in general. While the first half of the movie is breezy and exciting, a few things were lost on me in the second half emotionally, particularly in the coda. There are some upsetting events here, such as Van Buren literally taking and destroying a piece of Toth, identified by a shot of a wall of marble missing a slab that will be used later to craft Van Buren's community center. The revelation of Van Buren's monstrosity is a bit understated, lacking the emotional punch that was transcribed very early on, but it is in his eventual disappearance that the movie makes a strong impression. As they search for Van Buren amongst Toth's architectural designs, that he is basically forgotten here is symbolic of his complete lack of personality and his insecurity in the face of a truly creative being. A financier of a designer's project is not the designer. An upsetting fact for Van Buren that he harnesses and then manipulates Toth into becoming his doted upon pet. Toth, however, will be remembered, given a stronger period on the end of his sentence with the coda. There is a magnetism and power in these moments, but there's an emotional edge lacking. Then we arrive in 1980 as we are regaled with displays and dioramas of Toth's historic work, as his niece Zsófia and her daughter push him towards the stage, arriving at an architecture event where he will be celebrated. Zsófia presents her uncle's work and legacy as he listens nearby. She asserts that Toth's designs were built to resemble the concentration camps where his family suffered, then delivering the movie's summarizing quote, "No matter what the others try and tell you, it is the destination, not the journey." It was at this point that all the moments of the movie came to a head, and the audience is left with this and one final idea by the credits needle drop. One for them, one for me. So much is happening in this moment while also being simplistic. This winking quality in the ending is what I was referring to with it losing me a little bit, but I also kind of liked it. I like when a director that makes a movie that could be so self-serious delivers a punchline with the ending. Maybe this is all so serious, but not deadly so at the same time. There's so many thoughts I have about Zsófia as a framing device too, but in hopes to wrap up this video, I have one more point I want to make about that simplicity. And remember, at the end of the day, simplicity does not equate to being boring or uninteresting. Take a look at the prose of Ernest Hemingway. There is so much going on in plain speak English. The brutalist's seeming simplicity is more an earnest attempt at crafting a moving portrait of the American experience through the eyes of an immigrant. And beneath that simple story is a well-designed, labyrinthine methodology with an appreciation and deconstruction of film and art. What do you think of The Brutalist? Does it live up to the hype, or was it too pretentious for your taste? Do you think Joe Alwyn's character has a particularly punchable face? Leave all the comments below, and before you go, don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching this video and continuing to support the channel. Until next time, is it only the destination that matters, or is the journey as equally as important?
They do not want us here.
Who do you mean?
The people here, they do not want us here.